What's going on, guys? Chandler here. So this is going to be my new segment on my YouTube channel called First Listen Review that is taken from my $5 tier full album reactions. So I react to the entire album, and then at the very end I give my overall thoughts and initial thoughts and a score on the album as a whole. So again, if you do like what you see and want to support the channel going forward, head over to patreon.com/ChandlerBurtonEntertainment. This is exclusive to the $5 tier. Again, you get a full album reaction, review, and a whole bunch of other perks as well if you guys are interested. And again, there's always a link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the review, and thank you all so much for watching. Alright, my friends, so again, Veil of Maya with their very hotly anticipated album called Mother. Really excited to check it out with you guys. I am so amped. As I said in the beginning of this video, False Idol, this album right here, came out back in 2017. Again, it's been over 6 years since they've released a full-length album. And we've actually seen a lot of bands kind of follow this trend a little bit. You know, we've had Miss May I, we've had Pierce the Veil, we've had For the Fallen Dreams, kind of just take a little step back from the scene and kind of craft like their newest album. And to be honest, I think all three of those albums I just mentioned, For the Fallen Dreams self-titled, Pierce the Veil, The Jaws of Life, and then Miss May I, Curse of Existence, I think all three of those albums are really good. And I don't know if that's because they had all that extra time to put those albums together, but to me, it's some of their best in their careers. And so I was like, this is actually like really cool. So I'm really hoping that this album follows suit of that, where again, yeah, it did take a while for us to get this album, but I'm really hoping us waiting, there will be a significant payoff for this album, and I hope the payoff is that it's really, really good. It's a pretty good length. It's about 36 minutes and 25 seconds, so I don't want to waste any more time. I'm super excited. Again, ever since Matriarch onward, I've been a huge Veil of Maya fan. I do like their older stuff as well. I used to listen to them a lot in high school, but I love Lucas, and I love everything they're doing with their newer stuff. So again, really amped to check it out with you guys here. So again, our first song that we're checking out is entitled Tokyo Chainsaw. The titles for these songs are really cool as well, so really excited to dive in. So again, Veil of Maya, Mother. Let's go ahead and pop it off here in 3, 2, and 1.
A few moments later.
Oh, dude. That was absolutely worth the 6-year wait. That was seriously one of the best albums I've listened to this year. Buried Tomorrow's album, The Seventh Son, has been my favorite album so far this year, but I'm thinking Veil of Maya may actually top that. I am so excited to talk about this album. So I'm going to be doing my first listen review the next slide over, so please stick around for that. Let's talk some Veil of Maya. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about Veil of Maya's brand new album, Mother. Again, we just got done jamming the entire thing. As I just mentioned, I believe that this was worth the 6-year wait. I think this is their best album to date out of everything that they've done, even with their older stuff with Brenden, with the newer stuff with Lucas. Like, this is, in my opinion, the best album they've done. And I can already confirm that to myself just on the first initial listen. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So let's go and talk about the album. We have some pros, we'll do some cons, we'll do my top 3 songs, and then I will give you some overall thoughts and a score at the very end. So let's go ahead and start with the pros. Pro number 1, again, I gotta give it to Lucas, dude. Absolutely fantastic vocalist. I mean, I remember hearing him on Matriarch for the first time and hearing like Mikasa and those types of things, and I was like, wow, this guy can like sing, dude. He can also scream. He can do everything. But on this album, not only can he do everything, but he is better at doing everything. It's crazy to think, like, you know, obviously when you scream and do vocals, I mean, obviously your voice kind of wears down a little bit as time goes on, but for Lucas, I think it's gotten different. It started out really good, but I think it actually has gotten a little bit better. Like, his lows are lower, his high screams are higher, and his singing is a lot more like just, he's been passionate about it before, but his singing on this really seems passionate and really again, kind of a little bit of R&B influenced, really big choruses with his voice. There actually is more screaming on this album than singing, just from me listening to it for the first time. So I loved it. I thought he did such a good job. Like, this is like this was like his time to shine, and he absolutely stole the spotlight. So again, his highs were great, lows were great, singing was better than ever. Like, absolutely one of the best vocalists that can do everything. So props to him. His vocals were absolutely phenomenal. Definitely knows how to use his voice as an instrument. So shout out to him. That was absolutely fantastic. Another thing I liked about this album is that, dude, they were blending like new Veil Maya and old Veil Maya. There are 3 albums with Brenden, the old vocalist, and now there are 3 albums with Lucas. And it sounds like they literally just went back to their back catalog, like Common Man Collapse or ID, and they just took inspiration from some of their older music but incorporated it to what Lucas can do really well and kind of make just melodic, technical metalcore, deathcore, whatever you want to call it. And so there were definitely a lot of inspirations grabbed from some of their older stuff, but then there were some songs on here that also sound like something that could be from, like, fit right onto Matriarch. Like, it was such a perfect balance of old and new. And again, if you love old Veil Maya and maybe aren't too fan of the direction that they went, I really do think there's songs on here that really will satisfy the older fans of this band. And I think that's really cool that they went back and drew inspirations essentially from themselves to create some of these bangers on this album. So I love the blend of the new, like the electronic feeling of it, and kind of the R&B of like Lucas's singing, but also the technicality of the instruments. So really good for them. Like, honestly, maybe that 6 years they're just kind of going everything with a fine-tooth comb, going like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. Absolutely phenomenal. I love the blend of old and new. Thought they did a really good job with that without it feeling forced. That's another thing I want to say as well. I'd also say the instruments really shine on this as well. Mark is a beast of a human being when it comes to that guitar. When I'm listening to these songs, I'm like, how does his fingers like move and how does he make all these cool sounds with the guitar? Absolutely phenomenal. Like, the guitars were like just as cool as like the vocals. Not saying the bass and drums weren't great as well, because they definitely did their part and held those songs together, but definitely the standout for me again is Lucas and Mark on this album. Like, they absolutely killed it in their respective instruments. Like, some of this guitar work is the most insane thing I've heard all year, and it's literally just, it's a beautiful thing, it's a cool thing, and it's just so sick. It's so cool. And then the last pro that I want to give this, and I think this is probably the biggest pro that I'll give it, is that this album is unpredictable in the slightest. We know kind of what Veil Maya does now. They kind of take like that, you know, progressive metalcore sound, again, for Matriarch and False Idol. But again, what I loved about this, as I said earlier, is that they are blending the old and the new together. But then sometimes there's a really cool guitar part. Like, for example, like on the song Reconnect in the very beginning, I thought it was going to start off like kind of a softer song a little bit, but it just kicked right in, and it still had some cool singing moments in there. And so that's just one example of the unpredictability of this album. It's like there's so many cool things where it doesn't, no one song sounds the same, and I think it absolutely is just a wonderful thing. And I loved it. It's just so good, dude. Everything about this album is so good. If I'm going to be straight up, I don't have any cons with this album. I think this album is legitimately phenomenal. Like, from start to finish, I think it's phenomenal. So instead of having any cons, I want to do a conversation with you guys. As I mentioned in my reaction, I was writing down some notes here, and I was trying to think of like a good question to ask to people on YouTube and on Patreon as well. So I want to propose this question again. If you're on my Patreon watching this early, you know, definitely leave your thoughts on Patreon. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Again, I'd love to get a back and forth conversation started with the guys here. So as I mentioned, there are 3 albums with their old vocalist Brenden, and now there are 3 albums with their new vocalist Lucas. And so I want to know, what is your favorite old Veil Maya song with Brenden, and what is your favorite Veil Maya song with Lucas? For me, with Brenden, I gotta say, I know it's kind of typical, but I have a lot of nostalgia for the song, but probably Punisher. My friend Kyle and I absolutely loved that song back in the day, and every time that I listen to it, it's still a pretty good song. It holds up in my personal opinion, so I love Punisher. That song was a lot of fun to listen to. When it comes to the Lucas era, it was honestly a tie between Gray Mail off of their album False Idol, or again a one-off single, Outrun. But I think I'm going to give it to Outrun because I love like the Weeknd inspired vibes. I love the guitar solo. I love the breakdown on that. That might be one of my favorite Veil Maya songs, like, of all time, of any area of Veil Maya. So definitely let me know your thoughts. What's your favorite old Veil Maya song with Brenden, and what is your favorite new Veil Maya song with Lucas? Definitely let me know your thoughts down below. My top 3 favorite songs. This was another album, again, that was really hard to pick a top 3 favorite songs, but I think as of right now, these are going to be my top 3. Again, it always changes. For example, like I was listening to Currents the other day, and there's a song, Beyond This Road, that I did not add to my top 3 songs from the album, and that's the one that I've been listening to the most. So again, it's always subject to change, but just again, on my first initial listen, I gotta say, Tokyo Chainsaw, what a way to grab you in, man. That breakdown was ferocious. Like, what a great album opener to like really draw in the listener's attention. So I'm a big believer in like a good book or a good video game or a good movie. If you can start off really strong, you generally have me the entire way through. So again, absolutely phenomenal opener. The second one I would say is Disco Kill Party. That chorus was soaring, my dudes. That was an absolutely phenomenal blend of some of their older stuff, something from Matriarch, and just a really good singing chorus. I mean, that one's probably my favorite. That's a song I could literally roll down the windows on a nice day and just jam it as loud as I can and just have a big smile on my face. Absolutely loved that song. One of my favorites for sure. And then honestly, the album closer, Death Runner. When we talk about unpredictability, like, I love that song. That ending breakdown, it sounded like it had a little bit of those pinch harmonics in there, and the way it closed, I thought that song was super awesome, and it's super heavy. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you love Old Veil Maya, there's a few songs on here that I think are really going to satisfy that itch of those who've been wanting a heavier version of Veil Maya, and that's the song for me, boys. I thought that was super sick. But again, those are the top 3 songs that stuck out to me on Veil Maya's new album, Mother. In my personal opinion, of course, I am not a professional music journalist or anything like that, and obviously I've only listened to this album once, so again, that may change as I go back and listen to it over and over. I do think this is Veil Maya's best work, because again, it's combining everything that we loved about them previously to all their new stuff now. Like, again, I just feel like they took that inspiration from themselves, and they're like, okay, we're gonna satisfy the fans with some of our older stuff, but we're also gonna keep that new sound that we have with Lucas. And for me, the blend of both was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. The 6-year wait, I think, was absolutely worth it. Again, I know it's hard to wait for something, but it's like, honestly, it's like a kid on Christmas Day. I know that's the most generic like comparison, but it's like, you see the present under the tree, you have to wait for it, and then once you open it, you were like the happiest kid for like the rest of your life. And so that's how I felt with this album. We had to wait 6 years for this album, but everything about it, in my personal opinion, absolutely paid off. Again, I love the influence of metal, I love the R&B sound, I love the electronic sound. Again, I love the blend of old and new. I love this. The only thing I would say, and it's not really a complaint or anything, it's not going to lower the score, but I really do wish Outsider and Outrun would have made the album cut, because again, I just love those songs. I'm like, you know, it would have been fun to listen to it with the album as a whole, but again, they're still like on Spotify and Apple Music, so I can of course just listen to them whenever. But overall, man, this album is the definition of pure perfection. If you're like an elite metalhead, love progressive metal, like this is for you. And honestly, I think a lot of people are really going to like this, and I think it's going to be on a lot of people's albums of 2023, like their top 10. Definitely going to be on mine. I'm giving Veil Maya Mother a solid 10 out of 10. This is my second 10 out of 10 so far this year. I'm trying to be a little more like optimistic and skeptical when I give my review, like a 10 out of 10 for albums, but I really feel like this one absolutely deserves it. Like, everything about it worked for me, and again, I hope it works for you too. And again, I hope you love this album as much as I did. It's just phenomenal all the way through.